This happened a few months ago. I'm a graphic designer, 32 years old, and I usually work late in downtown Mexico City. I love the energy of the city, but I often get uneasy when I take the metro at night. One night, I was waiting for line 2. The platform was nearly empty. I could hear my heartbeat and the faint sound of a train. That's when I noticed a woman across from me. She was staring at me. I thought I recognized her, maybe from a friend's party, but I wasn't too sure. When I looked again, she was gone, as if she had never been there. I felt my stomach drop and tried to brush it off. Weeks passed, and I kept taking that metro line home. I could swear I felt eyes on me sometimes, especially in those long, empty train cars. A few nights, I saw shadows darting past my vision. Once, I heard someone whisper my name, but when I turned, there was nothing there. I felt cold, even though it wasn't too chilly. I blamed it on tiredness and tried to shake it off. One night, I was the last passenger on the train. I closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them, I saw a reflection in the window, another figure beside me. I turned quickly. Nobody stood there except me. My heart raced. I thought maybe it was just the late hour messing with my mind. Things got stranger. I started seeing flickers of light in the tunnels. Sometimes, my phone buzzed, but I had no notifications. I tried to read my messages, but I couldn't focus. Each stop left me feeling more unsettled. I was walking to the exit one night. I noticed a man in a dark coat leaning against the wall, staring straight at me. I hesitated. Our eyes met. He didn't blink or move. I asked him if he was okay, but he didn't respond. My hands became clammy, and something in my gut told me to keep walking. I did. But when I glanced back, he had vanished. I thought maybe I was losing my mind. Then one night, I was waiting for the train again. I turned and looked at the empty platform. A chill ran down my spine. I knew I wasn't alone. A whisper brushed past my ear. "Why are you here?" I whipped around. There was nobody. The darkness felt thicker, smothering me. I wanted to run but stayed frozen in place. Now, I can't shake the feeling that those encounters meant something. What did I miss? What was I supposed to see? I still can't explain it. Late at night, when I ride the metro, I find myself watching the shadows more closely. I've stopped taking late trains, but the memories haunt me. I avoid glancing at the windows. I dread what might look back at me. The city that once felt alive now feels like a huge trap, filled with whispers and shadows that I wish I could forget. I still wonder about that woman, the man in the coat, and whatever else may still be lurking in those dark tunnels. The days turned into weeks, and I tried to escape the unease that clung to me like a shadow. I avoided late-night work sessions when I could. I took rides during rush hour, squeezing into crowded trains and avoiding eye contact with other passengers. But I still felt an itch at the back of my mind, something unresolved nagging at me. One afternoon, I decided to meet with a friend who lived close to the metro station. We sat at a cafe, and I couldn't help but share my experiences. I expected laughter or disbelief, but my friend's face grew serious. "You should talk to someone about this," she said. "It sounds intense." I shrugged it off. I didn't want to seem paranoid. But deep down, I felt something boiling. I wanted answers, even if that meant confronting the eerie feelings that swirled in my chest. After our chat, I wandered through the neighborhood, hoping fresh air would ease my mind. I reached a small park, the midday sun bright and inviting. But the peaceful moment shattered when I saw a familiar figure at the far end, my shadowy friend from the metro. I blinked, and he was gone. My heart raced. Was it even him? And what did he want? I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but my instincts pushed me to walk away. That night, I finally decided to take the metro again. Just one ride. I needed to confront my fears. The station was quieter than usual, lit with buzzing fluorescent lights. I waited for the train, feeling the air shift around me. The familiar sounds of the metro enveloped me, but instead of comfort, I felt trapped. As I boarded the nearly empty train, there it was again, the feeling of being watched. I could feel it creeping down my spine. I settled into a seat but couldn't shake the sense of dread. I stared ahead, trying not to look out the windows. Halfway through the ride, I felt a cold breeze sweep through the car. I turned to see the man in the dark coat standing at the opposite end, his eyes locked on mine. Panic flooded my veins. This was not a figment of my imagination. He was real. And he was looking right at me. The train came to a sudden stop between stations. The lights flickered, and everything fell into darkness for a split second. My heart hammered as I fought to breathe. When the lights returned, he was gone. I wanted to scream, to bolt from the train, but I felt frozen, stuck in place. Then I saw it on the seat next to me, a scrap of paper. My hands trembled as I picked it up. It was a torn page from a magazine, featuring a photo of the woman from the platform. Below her image was a message in a strange script. My skin prickled as I tried to decipher it, then everything went dark. The train jolted and the lights went out again. Panic surged through me, and the rush of cold filled the car. I couldn't tell if it was just the darkness or something more sinister. I clutched the message tightly as the train lurched back to life. I needed to escape. As the lights flickered back on, I rushed for the door, but the figure reappeared. This time, he whispered something that sent ice through my veins. "You shouldn't have come back." I stumbled back, eyes wide, and then the doors slid shut. There was no turning back now. The train lurched into motion, and I gripped the edge of the nearest seat to steady myself. My mind raced as I processed what just happened. "You shouldn't have come back." The words echoed in my head like a mantra. Who was he? What did he mean? I looked around the car, now illuminated in a harsh glare. It felt surreal, like being in a twisted version of reality. I quickly glanced at the scrap of paper, the cryptic message still fresh in my mind. The letters twisted and curled, taunting me. I had to decipher it. The train stopped again, this time at a station. My heart raced. I jumped up, ready to bolt. But then I hesitated. Maybe I should stay. Maybe I'd find out more. I glanced back, half expecting to see that silhouette in the door. But he was gone. I sighed, feeling both relieved and unnerved. I glanced at the other passengers. A couple sat absorbed in their phones. An elderly man stared blankly ahead. Were they unaware of the lurking dread? I felt like a stranger in my own skin. Suddenly, I heard a rustle beside me. I turned to find a woman sitting down next to me. She was in her 20s, with dark hair and a nervous smile. There was something in her eyes that mirrored the fear twisting in my gut. "Did you see him?" she whispered, glancing around. "What? Who?" I asked, suddenly alert. "The man in the coat," she said, her voice trembling. "I've seen him too." Yes, always. Before she could finish, the lights flickered again. I froze. The train rumbled, and the familiar cold air swept in, carrying the chill of something unseen. "He is here," I muttered, half to myself. The woman's breathing quickened, and I could feel her fear radiating in waves. "We need to get off," she said urgently. "He has been following me." "Following you?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Why? What do you know?" Just then, the train jerked violently, and I lost my balance. I stumbled, grasping for the railing. The woman grabbed my arm, panic etched across her face. The lights went out for a third time, plunging us into darkness. I couldn't see her, but I could hear her soft whimpering. It echoed in the tight confines of the train. "What's happening?" she hissed. "I don't know," I replied. "Stay close." Gripping the scrap of paper, I felt a sense of urgency building. Whatever was going on, it felt connected. The train jolted as the lights flickered back on, and I caught a glimpse of the woman's wide eyes. That's when I saw it. In the corner of the car, I noticed the dark figure again, his face obscured, but his eyes burning into me. And then, in an instant, he vanished. "Where did he go?" I whispered, trembling. "I don't know." Her voice trailed off as realization dawned. The train screeched to a stop, and the doors slid open. "Let us go!" I shouted, grabbing her hand. We bolted out just in time. As we stepped onto the platform, one thought consumed me: this might just be the beginning. The platform was a blur of sounds and shadows. I pulled the woman along, my instincts screaming at me to put distance between us and that train. The air was thick with tension, and every sound echoed ominously. We were in this together, but I didn't even know her name. Once we reached the edge of the platform, I finally turned to her. "What is your name?" I asked quickly, scanning the area for any sign of that figure. "Lena," she replied, her voice shaky. "Thank you for pulling me out of there. What do you know about that man? Why is he following you?" I pressed, desperate to understand. Lena took a shaky breath. "I don't know everything, but he has been a part of my life for months. I see him everywhere, always just out of reach. I thought he was just a figment of my imagination." She glanced back toward the train, dread crossing her face. But this time felt different. I nodded, feeling the truth of her words seep into me. I fished the scrap of paper from my pocket, the ink smudged but still legible. I needed to decode it. "What does this mean?" I asked, holding it out for her to see. She squinted, the tension in her brow deepening. "I don't recognize those words, but they feel familiar. Like they're connected to him somehow." Before I could ask her what she meant, the train whistle pierced the air, hauntingly familiar. My heart pounded. My eyes darted back to the train, which now stood ominously still, the doors agape. "We should keep moving," I suggested, feeling a primal urge to escape. Suddenly, I heard it again. A rustling sound echoed from the far end of the platform. My blood ran cold. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. "Yes," she replied, her eyes wide. Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, cloaked in that same heavy coat. My pulse raced as the man stepped closer. This time, his face was clearer, a haunting smile curving his lips. "You shouldn't have come back," he said, his voice smooth yet chilling. I grabbed Lena's hand tighter, ready to run, but something in the man's gaze pinned me in place. "Who are you? What do you want?" I shouted, fear and anger intertwining. He tilted his head, and the smile faded, replaced with a serious glare. "The answers you seek are about to unfold. All you have to do is listen." He turned abruptly and started walking away, glancing back only briefly, as if inviting us to follow. "What do we do?" Lena whispered, her grip lighter now. I weighed my options. The train loomed behind us, a lurking comfort, but he might have answers. "We follow him," I said, adrenaline surging. "We can't let him get away." As we began to follow, I felt a sense of foreboding wash over me. This could either be my chance to understand what was happening or plunge us deeper into whatever nightmare was unfolding. Just then, the air shifted, and a sudden rush of wind forced me to shiver. That's when I stepped onto the platform and saw something glisten in the corner of my eye. It was a reflection, shining like a beacon, and my heart dropped. I had a feeling it was crucial. "Wait," I called out to Lena, who was already moving after the man. "Something's here." As she stopped to look back, I bent down to investigate. What I found could change everything, but I wasn't sure if that was a good thing. I knelt cautiously, my heart racing. The glimmering object caught the faint light from the overhead lamps, and as I reached for it, I hoped it was something significant. My fingers brushed against a small, silver locket. It felt cool and smooth, familiar yet foreign. I opened it carefully, revealing a faded photograph inside. It was a picture of a young girl, her eyes bright and innocent. A chill crept down my spine as I felt a sense of recognition wash over me. "Lena," I said, glancing back at her. "Do you know this girl?" Her eyes went wide, and she moved closer to examine the locket. "No," but she hesitated, biting her lip. "I've seen her before, sometimes in dreams." Just then, a loud clang echoed through the station, and we both jumped, suddenly aware of the man's absence. "We have to go now," I urged, slipping the locket into my pocket. Lena nodded, her expression a mixture of resolve and fear. We quickly turned to follow the cloaked figure, scanning the shadows around us, but there was no trace of him. "Where did he go?" Lena whispered, her voice trembling. I felt a twist of frustration and urgency. This isn't a game. He's dangerous. I tried to steady my thoughts, frowning. What did he mean by answers? A shuffling sound interrupted my musings, drawing our attention to a group of people huddled at the far end of the platform. Their postures were awkward, almost unnatural. I squinted, half expecting to see a confrontation, but instead, they seemed to be watching something just outside our line of sight. Should we? Lena began, but I cut her off. No. We need to keep moving. As we turned to leave, the air suddenly felt charged, heavy. My instincts screamed for a way out. But with every step, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The presence of those people was unnerving. Then it happened. A voice broke through the tension, low yet clear. You're looking for answers, but some things are better left hidden. A woman stepped into the light, her features partially obscured by a dark hood. My heart raced again, the familiarity of her voice sending a jolt through me. Who are you? I demanded, instinctively drawing closer to Lena. She smiled, a knowing expression on her face that sent a shiver down my spine. You've got to make a choice. You can either turn back now or keep searching for the truth. Before I could respond, she lifted her hand slightly, and a flicker of light emanated from it, illuminating the space around us. In that moment, shadows danced along the walls, revealing images I hadn't seen before: a train, a girl, the man in the coat, all intertwined. What is this? I breathed, caught between the allure of an answer and the weight of dread it carried. The moment felt suspended in time, the atmosphere thickening as Lena gripped my arm tightly. I could feel her fear matching my own. Then the lights flickered again, and everything went dark. I heard Lena gasp beside me. Stay close, I murmured, clenching my fists. Panic surged through me, but something told me we were on the brink of discovering more than we bargained for. Suddenly, I realized that the train wasn't just a mode of transport anymore. It was part of something larger, a connection that spanned layers of reality. With each passing second, the pull to confront the mystery grew stronger, but so did the need to escape this impending danger. As the darkness swallowed us, a thought struck me: maybe the locket, the figures, the cloaked man, they were all threads in a web I was now tangled in. And no matter how hard I tried to escape, I had taken the first step forward. Let us go, I heard myself say, my voice steady despite the fear churning inside. We need to find that man. I knew the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but turning back wasn't an option anymore. The truth was out there, and I was determined to uncover it, whatever sacrifices that might demand. The darkness enveloped us like a thick blanket, but I could still feel the pulse of my own heartbeat echoing in the silence. I turned to Lena, hoping to gauge her reaction, but her silhouette was just a shadow in the gloom. Are you still there? I whispered, the fear in my voice barely masking my concern. Yes, she managed, her voice quaking. What do we do? We find the light, I said, more to reassure myself than her. I took a deep breath and began to move forward, feeling my way through the pitch black, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. Every sound felt magnified, every rustle of fabric or scrape of shoes against the concrete igniting a new wave of panic, but then, just as abruptly, the lights flickered back to life, and the world around us reformed from shadow. We stood now in a different area of the station, one I hadn't recognized before. The cold steel benches and faded advertisements painted an unsettling picture of abandonment. What happened to the other part of the platform? Was it a trick of the light or something more sinister? Where are we? Lena asked, her eyes wide, scanning our surroundings. I have no idea, I admitted, a knot forming in my stomach. The air felt heavy, suffused with an unshakable tension. Before I could process what to do next, I spotted movement at the far end of the platform. A figure stood in the glow of a dim light, the same cloaked man from earlier, staring at us. My instincts flared, urging me to run, but curiosity held me fast. He raised a hand, signaling us to come closer. What do you want? I shouted, my voice bouncing back to me in a harsh echo. Answers, he replied, his voice a gravelly whisper that sent another chill coursing through me. They lie with the girl. I glanced at Lena, she looked as confused as I felt. What girl? I demanded. The one in the locket, he replied, tilting his head slightly. Elysium is waiting for you, but danger lurks. Elysium? Lena echoed. What does that mean? Before I could ask another question, the ground under us trembled slightly, sending vibrations through the platform. It was subtle but real, like the warning sign of an approaching storm. We need to move. I grabbed Lena's arm, pulling her forward away from the man, but the cloaked figure's eyes seemed to pierce through me as I ran. You're running out of time. He called after us, the urgency in his voice unrelenting. Find the girl before it's too late. As we sped down the platform, I couldn't help but feel like we were caught in a twisted game, and the stakes were rising with each passing second. Who was this girl? And why did the locket lead us here? Then, as we reached the end of the platform, I stumbled and nearly fell. That's when I saw it, a staircase leading underground, lit by an unsteady bulb and flanked by eerie graffiti that seemed to pulse with unspoken warnings. We can't go down there, Lena protested, eyes wide with fear. We have no choice, I insisted, adrenaline pushing me forward. Whatever is happening, it's down there. Just as I stepped onto the first rung, a loud crash echoed behind us. I whipped around to see that the cloaked man was no longer standing there, but the shadows seemed to pulse, as if something was moving within them. Go! I yelled, pulling Lena with me. There was no turning back now. The pull of the unknown was too strong, and I could feel the weight of secrets pressing down on us. We had to find the truth, no matter the cost. As we descended the staircase, the dim flickering light above us cast moving shadows on the damp concrete walls. I squeezed Lena's hand, our fingers intertwined in shared fear. The smell of mildew filled the air, a reminder of how long this place had probably been abandoned. Each step I took reverberated in the silence, amplifying my uncertainty. What awaited us below? At the bottom of the stairs, a narrow corridor stretched in both directions. It felt like stepping into an entirely different world, detached from reality. The light flickered sporadically, creating staccato bursts of visibility like a camera struggling to focus. I hesitated, my heart racing. Which way? Lena whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. We'll go left, I decided, feeling a strange pull towards that direction. I didn't know why, I just felt compelled to move forward. We crept down the corridor, our footsteps careful and slow. The sound of distant water dripping echoed through the hollow space around us, setting my nerves on edge. As we rounded a corner, I froze. There, propped against the wall, was an old wooden chest. My breath caught in my throat. It looked out of place, like a relic from another time. Lena, look at that, I said, pointing. What do you think it is? She asked, her curiosity mixing with caution. It might be the answer we're looking for, I said, moving closer. I knelt down to inspect it, feeling both excitement and dread. My fingers brushed against the weathered surface, and I hesitated. What if it contains something dangerous? Are you sure we should open it? Lena questioned, her eyes darting around the dark corridor as if expecting something to jump out at us, but before I could respond, a loud rumble interrupted our contemplation, shaking the walls around us. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling, and I grabbed Lena's arm to steady her. We have to hurry. I shouted over the cacophony, with a burst of determination. I lifted the chest's lid. It creaked loudly, protesting against years of stagnation. Inside, a mixture of trinkets and yellowed papers lay scattered. I quickly rifled through them. There were old photographs, some cracked and faded images of people I didn't recognize. My heart sank as I pulled out a delicate locket. It shimmered under the weak light, identical to the one the cloaked man had mentioned. What is it? Lena peered over my shoulder, her curiosity piqued. I think it's the locket he was talking about, I replied, my voice shaking slightly. But where's the girl? Just then, a low growl reverberated off the walls, and I whipped around, my heart racing. The corridor felt different now, charged with something that made my skin prickle. We need to leave. Right now. I yelled, shoving the locket into my pocket as I grabbed Lena's hand again. We sprinted back towards the staircase, but as we turned the corner, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was tall and menacing, cloaked in darkness more than just a figment of my imagination. I froze, terror gripping me as I realized that the lurking danger was now right in front of us. "Stay back!" I shouted, feeling a wave of impending doom wash over me. I could feel Lena's fear radiating beside me. We were nearing a confrontation, and we weren't ready. "Find the girl," the figure warned, their voice echoing through the corridor, just before everything went dark again. My heart pounded in my chest, a rapid cacophony in the pitch blackness that enveloped us. The dark didn't feel like a simple lack of light, it felt alive, swirling around us like a thick fog, and I could barely make out the outline of Lena next to me. "Where are you?" Her voice quavered, panic creeping into every syllable. I took a shaky breath, straining to hear anything beyond my own heartbeat. Suddenly, a faint beam of light flickered to life. I squinted, trying to make sense of it. A lantern, perhaps? I didn't know, but it beckoned me forward. The darkness receded slightly, revealing the corridor again, the walls still dripping with moisture. I grabbed Lena's hand tightly. "This way," I said, guiding her towards the light. As we moved carefully, it flickered again, casting shadows that danced ominously against the walls. The growl from before echoed repetitively in my mind, and I dared not look back. What if the figure was chasing us? We reached the light, and I let out a sigh of relief. It was an old oil lamp sitting on a small, rusted table. My eyes widened at the sight of the table itself. It was covered with more old photographs and strange symbols carved into the wood. "What do you think this is?" Lena asked, peering over my shoulder, her voice barely above a whisper. "I have no idea," I admitted, reaching to touch one of the symbols. It felt warm against my fingers, pulsing lightly as if there was some hidden energy within it. I quickly pulled my hand back, realizing how unsettling that sensation was. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw something move. My breath hitched. A shadow darted down the corridor. It wasn't the figure from before, but rather something smaller, faster. My instincts screamed at me to run, but curiosity rooted me to the spot. "Did you see that?" Lena asked, clutching my arm. "Yes," I replied cautiously. "What was it?" Before I could answer, the lamp flickered out, plunging us into darkness once more. I could hear Lena's sharp intake of breath. I struggled to calm her. "Let us go back," I urged, trying to maintain a brave facade. As we turned to retrace our steps, the growling returned, much closer now. The sound sent a chill down my spine, a stark warning that we were not alone. I could feel the air shifting around me, heavy with unseen pressure. Just then, in the fleeting glow of a distant light, I saw the figure again, but this time it was unnaturally tall, almost exaggerated. It towered over us, hiding its face in shadow. "Find the girl," it demanded once more, its voice echoing eerily in the confined space. "Who are you?" I shouted, trying to sound firm despite the fear clawing at my throat. "Find her, or you'll join the others," it bellowed, and the ground beneath us shook. My uncertainty solidified into one thought: I needed to get Lena to safety. We couldn't stick around to understand the threat. I grabbed Lena's hand tightly and bolted back down the corridor. We had to escape whatever this thing was. The growl morphed into a chorus of whispers, growing louder, echoing around us as we ran. Then everything went silent. I stumbled into a wall, hard, and myself was propelled forward. But I didn't care. I had to find a way out. As I scrambled to my feet and looked back, I wondered if we were truly safe or if the figure was still lurking, waiting for us to make one wrong move. The silence was deafening. I stood there for a moment, trying to recover from the impact of my fall. Lena was beside me, trembling. "What now? Where do we go?" she asked, her voice trembling with anxiety. "There has to be a door or something," I said, scanning the walls for any escape route. With each passing second, I felt the weight of the shadows closing in around us. My fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, a doorknob. I twisted it, praying it would budge. The door swung open with a creak, revealing a small room filled with dusty crates. The dim light coming from a few small windows cast eerie shapes on the walls. "Quick, in here," I urged, pulling Lena inside before closing the door. Inside, the air felt thick with the scent of mold and something else, a sharp tang that made my stomach churn. I needed to catch my breath and think. The growling sounds faded, but I couldn't shake the feeling we were still being hunted. What do you think the figure meant by "find the girl"? Lena's question startled me. I don't know, I snapped, trying to keep my voice low. But we need to keep moving. If it finds us here. Suddenly, a crash came from the corridor outside, followed by frantic footsteps. My heart raced as I pressed my body against the door. Did you hear that? I whispered, eyes wide. Yes. What are we going to do? Before I could respond, the sound stopped abruptly. A chilling pause followed, as if the world was holding its breath. Then, a soft thud echoed from the other side, followed by a hushed voice. Help me, please. I exchanged a panicked look with Lena. Should we open it? She asked, eyes darting. It could be a trap, I replied. Deep down, I was conflicted. That voice sounded desperate. Who were they? Was it someone in danger or a decoy luring us into a false sense of security? As I debated, I noticed a white dusting on the crates in the corner of the room. I took a cautious step towards it and knelt down. The dust swirled slightly, revealing more strange symbols, like those on the table outside. I traced one of them. My fingers tingled with an electric charge. Do you think it relates to that figure? Lena asked, inching closer. Maybe. But we need to find a way out first, I insisted. Suddenly, the voice outside became more urgent. Please. I need your help. I glanced back at Lena, who looked equally torn. We can't just leave them. What if it's a child? My heart raced with indecision. I could feel the weight of time slipping away. We had to act fast. I opened the door just a crack. Who are you? I called out. There was a pause, then the voice replied, trembling, I'm lost. Please don't leave me. Just as I was about to open the door fully, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet again, followed by a distant roar. Something was coming. I slammed the door shut and turned to Lena. We need to go now. Whatever's out there is much worse than whatever's behind this door. Then, a loud crash echoed through the corridor, and I felt a surge of dread. Someone's coming! I yelled, grabbing Lena's hand. We have to find another way. As we darted across the room, I spotted a small window, barely large enough for us to squeeze through. Over there! I pointed. With urgency coursing through my veins, Lena and I rushed toward the window, hearts racing, knowing time was running out. With one final push, I wedged my body through the window. My shoulders scraped against the jagged edges, and I felt a sharp pain, but desperation propelled me onward. Lena followed quickly, her face painted with a mix of fear and determination. We tumbled into an alleyway outside the station, gasping for breath, feeling the cool night air wash over us. The relief of escape was fleeting, though, as a low growl echoed from the depths of the metro behind us. I turned to Lena, shaking slightly. We need to keep moving. I could sense the danger lurking just behind us, waiting for the right moment to strike. We ran down the dimly lit street, fumbling in the darkness as my mind raced with thoughts of the man in the coat, the cryptic messages, and the mysterious girl in the locket. Where do we go? Lena panted, her breath visible in the cool air. I don't know, I admitted, glancing around. The streets that once teemed with life felt abandoned now, each shadow holding a potential threat. We need to find somewhere safe. As we moved away from the station, the glow of streetlights barely pierced the thickness of the night. Behind us, the muted sounds of the metro faded, but the sensation of being watched lingered, prickling at my skin. After what felt like hours of running, we stumbled into a small park. The trees loomed above us, their branches silhouetted against the starlit sky. We paused, leaning against a weathered bench, trying to catch our breath. Do you think it's over? Lena asked, scanning the dark outlines of the trees and the nearby buildings. I don't know, I replied, rubbing my temples in frustration. I can't shake the feeling that everything isn't finished. Why did that man say find the girl? Lena pulled out the locket I had given to her after the chaos in the metro. This must mean something. Maybe it's about the girl in here. Her eyes were wide with a flicker of hope. We have to find her. Find her? I echoed, uncertainty knotting in my stomach. What if doing that only brings more danger? But what if she has the key to understanding all of this? Lena pressed. What if she can help us fight back? My heart conflicted with the desire to uncover the truth and the raw instinct to run as far away from it as possible. What if there is nothing to find? What if it's all a trap? A deafening silence stretched between us, filled only by our labored breaths. I glanced down at the locket. Its surface glimmered in the faint light. We need to make some sense of this. But how? Just then, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew heavy, and a faint whisper echoed around us. You shouldn't have come back. The voice felt familiar, crawling under my skin. Did you hear that? I whispered urgently, my skin prickling with fear. I did, Lena said, her voice trembling. It's him. I felt my stomach lurch as shadows began to swirl around us, coalescing into the figure of the man in the coat, stepping from the darkness with a smile that was both haunting and enigmatic. You seek the girl but find only shadows. Turn back now, and you might yet escape. I took a step back, gripping Lena's arm tighter. What do you want from us? I shouted, anger and fear intertwining. The figure tilted his head, his smile unfaltering. Only to guide you. You've come too far already, and the choice belongs to you. Will you seek the truth, or will you allow the shadows to take you? Without waiting for a response, he extended his arm toward us, revealing something glimmering in his palm, a small, silver key. This will lead you to her. But beware, for every truth comes with a price. Lena and I exchanged wide-eyed glances. It was as if the world paused, holding its breath, waiting for our next move. Do we trust him? I whispered. I don't know, she replied, fear threading through her voice. But we can't just ignore it. In that moment, I realized something crucial. No matter what, the answers we sought were not yet within reach, and nothing would ever truly feel safe until I faced whatever lay ahead. I stepped forward, my heart pounding. We'll follow you, I called to him, drawing on. Whatever courage I could muster. We need to find her. His smile softened for a moment before he disappeared into the shadows, leaving the key hovering in the air between us. As I reached out to grasp it, the park grew still, the weight of unanswered questions hanging over us like a looming threat. Lena held my hand tightly, the future stretching ahead into an uncertain darkness, one that promised danger, truths that had yet been uncovered, and the tension of a shadow still lurking behind. You ready? I asked, though uncertainty flickered in my chest. We have to be, she replied, determination rising in her tone. Together, we took our first step into the unknown, the echoes of the past lingering behind us and the chilling promise of what waited in the dark ahead. I didn't know where this would lead, but there was no turning back now.